Hello once again, it's not your boy That's No Moon, it's Licol once again filling in for him. So, today is going to be the pilot to a new series called Under the Hood, where we look at different teams and the engines that make them run, and how you yourself can get that team up and running with the minimum investments. Like I said, this video is just a pilot, and it's going to gauge whether or not there's a desire for this kind of information among the free-to-play community. So, if you find this sort of video useful, or you find the information interesting, please leave a like and let Moon know you want more, otherwise no more will come and we'll chop this up to a failure. If you don't find this video useful and dislike it because you're already a vet of the game and have all these teams maxed and think I'm just stating the obvious, please also leave a like and a subscription because, it feeds my ego and makes me feel good about myself. Now, before we address our team for our pilot episode, I thought I would give you a little introduction to the series as a whole, why this information may be useful to new endgame players, and what do I mean when I talk about a team's quote-unquote engine. So, before we begin, a little history lesson for you all. So, right, back in the day, the advice most players of Galaxy of Heroes would give you is pick a team, stick with it till you've maxed it out, and for a long time this was the way forward to making progress in the game and remaining competitive in, something like Arena. Unfortunately, this no longer holds weight. The game has progressed, and this mentality has kind of lost its potency thanks to game modes like Grand Arena, Territory Wars, this new Conquest game mode, and what I would call the stepping stone farms. For example, Malak and Gas and Jedi Knight Luke, and of course the big boys and gal themselves, the Galactic Legends. And this has made having just one fully maxed out team a little bit redundant in the grand scheme of the game. Because basically what's happened is this has turned from a single battle RPG, turn-based RPG, into something more akin to a game of chess, with various teams representing various pieces on the board, and as free-to-play players we need to stretch our resources across multiple teams to be able to play the chessboard because, unlike traditional chess, at the start of this game you don't get given all the pieces, and you need these pieces to be able to play this game. Before we start, though, I'd like to make a few things clear about what this series is trying and not trying to do. The not trying bit is important because otherwise this is going to be seen as bad advice. So, number one. This is primarily about flexibility and versatility in your roster, as that's key to competitive play in this game. It's all well and good, having one or two maxed out teams, but you go against an opponent in Grand Arena who has the hard counters, and many more teams at reasonable gear levels, maybe not maxed out but reasonably geared. You're going to run into trouble fast. Your guild's not going to appreciate you only hitting 2 battles per territory battle and territory war, and just all around you're not going to really have fun when you're face to face with a challenge and an event you can't take part in because all your eggs are in one single basket and you can't get the team working to play the event. Number 2. This is not advice on how to optimize a team to be its best. The simple answer to that is to get the best out of a team, you need the mods, and to relic them up. This advice is more along the lines of how to get a team doing its primary job, be that hard counter or defensively viable, with the minimum investment so you can move on to the next team you need to bring up to scratch to be competitive. It's all about flexibility, making yourself as flexible as possible, as quickly as possible, without spending money. I hope that's clear. Number 3. We're not dealing here with mishmash, niche, or most powerful version of teams here. In fact, a primary rule of this series is that none of the team's engines mentioned may borrow characters that are a component to the engine of another team because, this is about spreading resources to make many effective teams, not a singular great one. And finally, number 4. No Galactic Legends are going to be mentioned here because I don't think it's good advice to recommend beginner players to go for every single Galactic Legend before shaping out other core teams, and Galactic Legends tend to break up core teams to make their teams, so it's not really relevant for this series. Do go for a Galactic Legend. I always think it's good to go for one, even if you're a beginner endgame player, but think about these other teams too. So, with that in mind, let's address the first big question. What is this team engine that I speak of? So, I want you to try and imagine it like a Ferrari. It's got all that aerodynamic bodywork, it's got lightweight wheels and fairing and so forth, carbon fibre, all that to make it light. But the thing, and that certainly helps it go. But the true power, the oomph, the thing that actually makes it move in the first place is, you guessed it, its engine. Now, in terms of Galaxy of Heroes, a lot of people think a team's engine is what gives turn meter to the team, thanks to the Papa Palpatine Express meme. But this is not true. Turn meter gain can be the team's engine, but it's not always the case. At its very core, a team's engine is the necessary characters, it's generally 3, sometimes more, sometimes less, that when modded correctly and at the appropriate gear level, makes the team run and do its primary job. This can of course be turn meter gain, it can be also crowd control, it can be survivability, massive damage, taking the first turn, nerfing the enemy in some way, assisting, buffing the team. We can go on and on and on and on about all the different teams and what they do. But when we talk about the engine of a team, we are in essence saying, if we strip away the extras, all the things that, help support the team, if we strip away all those nice little extras, what at its very foundations makes the team work? So, why is this information important? Well, to put it simply, number 1, it will help you prioritize your gear and relics to get the best bang for your buck when you're building up these must-have teams. And number 2, it's going to stop you wasting gear on superfluous characters who, they do obviously contribute to the team and do help out the team and need some attention. You can't just leave these at gear 1, but they're not vital to its success. And thus you can leave them at lower gear levels while you shape out other important teams, and this gives you your maximum flexibility on a budget. And my final disclaimer before we go under the hood, I am not telling you to let your team sit like this forever. At some point, if you want this team to be the best it can be, you need to go back and gear 13 and relic the lot of them. It's as simple as that. Hoping that that's clear. Once you've got your roster nice and rounded, go back and refine the teams you've worked on instead of working on more, because this is how you end up falling behind in the game. So, it's all out of the way. That's the series introduction. If you like the concept, if you like the idea, please drop a like and leave a comment saying you kind of like the idea of this series. So, who are we going under the hood of today? That's right, we're looking at Jedi Knight Luke. Now, the reason for this is not because Jedi Knight Luke is the easiest to get endgame character / team, but merely because his team's engine is simple and will take less time to explain, and it helps keep this video's length from getting ridiculous thanks to, my series introduction, which is not going to be on future videos. Don't worry, you won't have to sit through that every time. Don't worry, quicker acquired teams like the Revens, General Grievous, Night Sisters, CLS, Gas, they're all in the pipeline if you guys want more of this, so I hope you don't hold it against me that I've chose one of the more tricky to get endgame characters. So, Jedi Knight Luke. What makes the Jedi Knight Luke team work? What's at its core? What makes it work? It's extremely simple. It's 2 things, just 2 things. That is, nerfing speed to Luke's base speed. Note that this includes the speed added by mods, so a slower Luke equals a bigger nerf, and the team also relies on dealing massive single target damage. There are other perks to the team like stalling and regeneration, but at its very core, those 2 things that I just mentioned, they're what make the team work. You can strip everything else away and this team will still do its job. So, what components do we need for this engine to run? Ta-da! Literally 2 characters, including Luke himself. That is it, that is all you need. So, the massive damage part of the engine is fulfilled by Luke himself. He has the highest base offense in the game, even more than Kylo before he siphons, which is amazing. Half his lead is a damage boost, and he also gains a buff that increases his offense dramatically and allows him to counterattack 100% of the time. So once he's got that buff, he will basically counter the team to death. Not to mention, he has a protection pool big enough to take Kylo's belly poke and still be left with his protection. Luke is basically a team's worth of damage, durability and control all by himself. And the only stalling tactic he is susceptible to is turn meter reduction. That is it. You can't fear this guy, you can't stun this guy. Once he gets going, there's no way of stopping him with stall tactics apart from turn meter reduction. And even then, if he's got his buff, he's going to counter. So, why do we need another character to make this engine work then? If Luke's a team by himself, why do we need another character? It's simple, really. His lead. You see, Luke's lead is very unique because for the speed nerf, the big part of his lead that nerfs speed to kick in, Luke has to take a turn, so it won't do anything until he's taken his first turn. And the problem with this is that Luke is painfully slow. Even with amazing speed mods, I think he's like, I honestly think he's like a second slowest character in the game. He might even be the slowest for all I know. Even with amazing speed mods, the most you're going to push, and I mean god mods, the most you're going to push is like 250, 260. So your opponent has plenty of time to stall and knock our hero down before his lead procs, or he has his counterattack buff. So, you know, that's not good. Fortunately, Luke has a little trick up his sleeve to help get him going. This being the ability that's also added with his lead called Heroes Arise, which is granted to all non-Old Republic Jedi. Now, despite being a mass assist, which is great, despite being a great source of health and protection regeneration, which is also great, despite it giving all non-Old Republic Jedi Luke's very powerful Jedi will buff, which is amazing, despite it just being a great all-round ability, the most important aspect of this ability is that it gives Luke 100% turn meter when it's used and it procs his lead immediately. And Luke can start going to town after that. So, who's our second component to this engine then? There's actually no set character, believe it or not. You don't have to pick any specific character, although I do have my preferences you can probably see on the screen now. All you need for this component is a very fast non-Old Republic Jedi. That's it. It has to be non-Old Republic because they don't get that ability, unfortunately, that Heroes Arise. This basically leaves you with 3 very good candidates, although one of them is off the table since he's a vital component to another team's engine, and by the series rules, he's a no-go, that being Grandmaster Yoda if you were wondering. So, who are you left with? Well, you've got Hermit Yoda and you've got Shaq T. Either one of these can fill the slot and fulfill the role perfectly, and both also provide some additional support. Both, and it's the same support they provide. Both provide a buff to Luke's offense, Hermit with his training, and Shaq with her offense up on her basic, and they both heal both health and protection, which can be nice for propping Luke up if the AI is feeling very mean towards him on that day. Personally, I think in terms of resource management that Hermit is the better option since you've got to get this guy to the required gear level anyway to get Jedi Knight Luke in the first place. But I know some like to use Hermit with Jedi Knight Revan and they can't live with, they can't use that team without him in which case Shaq is a perfectly fine replacement. They're both very fast Jedi and they will both fulfill the role. So, let's talk gear. And this is where I'm going to get roasted. What are the minimum requirements to get this engine doing its job? Unfortunately, this is not going to be a nice answer for those who like to save their resources, I'm afraid. And it's not going to sound resource efficient, but you have to bear in mind that this is essentially the team. You can, if you get these 2 characters to where they need to be, they will carry the rest of the team, even if they are as low as gear 8, honestly. So you have to think of it as, yeah, you're going to have to take these guys very high, but at the same time, you don't have to put gear elsewhere to make this team work. So please bear that in mind. So let's have a look at Luke anyway. And it's bad news bears here because for a series about resource saving, my recommendation here is that you take him all the way to Relic 7. Luke carries the entire team, make no mistake, and he carries it through his damage and his survivability. Seriously, I've seen this guy solo a Relic CLS team by himself when he was the last one standing. This guy is a non-negotiable Relic 7, unfortunately. You might get away with Relic 5, but honestly, he's such a good character, he's honestly worth that cost, that little bit extra to get those 2 Relic levels. Remember, at the end of the day, he is the team, essentially. Now, on to our next component of this machine, our Fast Jedi. Well, this character has one job, that's it. Trigger Luke's lead, and after that they are completely expendable. The sole attribute this character needs is as much speed as possible. So, what gear do we need on this character? Well, again, it's bad news bears here, but not as bad as Luke. You see, the difference between Gear 12 and Gear 13 is 20 speed. Not to mention the set bonus from mods can then include that 20 speed, which means 22 bonus speed overall. So, yeah. Unfortunately, you're going to have to take this character, be it Shaq or Hermit, to Gear 13 to get the team working with any semblance of efficiency against tougher teams. Remember, without his Jedi Will buff, Luke is just a sitting duck, waiting to be bursted down before he's took his first turn. So, speed on this character is king. Now, the silver lining is that if you've got this guy in the first place, if you've got Luke in the first place, you already have Hermit at Gear 13 because he's part of the requirements. However, if you want to sub in Shaq, you're going to have to grind her up, unfortunately. Good news is, though, that relics are irrelevant on this character, so speed is all that matters, relics don't affect speed, so you can save your relic data and your relic parts for other teams here. You just need the stamp of Gear 13 to get the set bonus. Now, mods-wise, I'm not going to go into any kind of in-depth analysis here. Once again, it's extremely simple. Luke wants offense or crit damage mods, with offense primaries. There's some argument for stacking his protection, but honestly, focus on offense, since with enough offense or crit damage, he will delete everyone but a galactic legend in one hit. Seriously, even tanks aren't safe. I've seen Crew get one shot, I've seen General Kenobi get one shot. Luke is essentially an annihilator by himself with his basic. Even speed isn't important with Luke, since, the whole point is that he nerfs the enemy's speed down to his own. But on the other side of the coin, our Fast Jedi needs, drumroll please, you guessed it, speed. Honestly, a speed set and whatever mods with high secondary speed is all you need to worry about. If you can, you want this guy taking the first turn out of everyone if it's possible. It's not necessary, as long as he's following up whoever took the first turn, but he does want to be one of the first people going, and that is literally all there is to it. And that's it. Nice and simple team to ease us into the series, eh? Get Luke to Relic 7, get Hermit or Shaq to Gear 13, mod Luke to hit hard and Yoda/Shaq to be fast, and that is the Jedi Knight Luke engine in a nutshell. As for who you compare with this engine for good results at lower gears without taking from other core teams, my recommendation, my two picks would be Barriss and Old Ben. Now, I say Barriss because she kind of acts as a backup to your Fast Jedi, since her unique gives her turn meter when your team takes damage. So, if the enemy tries to be cute and burst down your lead proccing Jedi, your Shaq tier, I think Hermit hides, so this isn't going to be a problem if you're running Hermit, but Shaq, they might try and shoot Shaq down to stop Luke going. Barriss will gain turn meter while that's happening, and boom, she can then do the job. You don't need the Zeta or high gear either. You can run Barriss at like gear 8 if you wanted to. I mean, she's probably not going to survive the battle, but she's basically there as a backup to your Fast Jedi. And then I say Old Ben because Old Ben is a really solid Jedi. He has an awesome trick that can be used at any gear level at its full effectiveness, and then he can taunt. If he can taunt, it's nice, and then he can die, and he'll buff up your team once he goes down. So, at lower gear levels, he's probably going to be more helpful in some ways. Not for banner efficiency in Grand Arena, but that buff might give your team the last little boost it needs when he gets sacrificed to win the battle, maybe. As for your third superfluous character, honestly, any non-Old Republic Jedi is going to do. The thing you have to remember with this team is that once that lead goes off, Luke is the team. I'll drill that into your head when you're working on this team. Luke is the team. He demands your focus more than any other character in this team. And that is it, guys. That is what's under the hood of the Jedi Knight Luke team. I'm really sorry I picked one of the least accessible characters for the first episode, but I wanted to keep it simple for the first episode, and I hope you don't hold that against me, because I wanted to help keep the length down as well, so that this video didn't go on for hours. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please throw it a like and a thumbs up, and if you want this to become a full series where we go under the hood of all the must-have teams like Gas and Jedi Knight Revan, Darth Revan, CLS, Night Sisters, Grievous, all of those teams that we kind of really need to have, please let Moon know below. Any thoughts or feedback, please feel free to let me know. This was just a pilot, and feedback on what I can and can't do, any feedback on what I could or should not do is always appreciated, and it will go a long way towards improving the series. I also would like to apologise for how my voice sounds on this video. It might sound a bit high-pitched and nasally. That's because it's hay fever season here in Britain now, and it's hitting me hard, so I'm sorry if my voice sounds a little bit slushy and slurry. With all that said, I hope you have an awesome day, guys, and I'd like to say thank you for watching, so have a good one.